So that's the picture I want to paint. We are dealing with a 4.3 billion naira industry, which is about 2 billion naira less to 2 billion naira less to our national budget. But 4.3 billion does not stink this country. It means that we do a lot of course, our foreign friends come give us what's best. So how can we retain the 4.3 billion industry in this country? Access to finance is very important. Ready for it? Okay, we'll get back to the video. So let's look at it. PharmAccess, I think a lot has been said today, but PharmAccess, of course, has this lovely program called the Medical Credit Fund. But let me first take back my history, please. Lamide, point at please. Next slide. Okay, first of all, I want to go back to who we are, so that basically we will transcend to what we are talking about today. Of course, obviously, from the morning when our country director has spoken, we started off with HIV treatment. That's basically what we do before we transform into more programs. Of course, we have the health insurance, which we do to stimulate health plans. We won our award, got the Dutch grant, which helped us to move forward. Then the Medical Credit Fund launched. Medical Credit Fund is supposed to work as access to finance or stimulate access to finance for supply side financing. That means healthcare providers have the opportunities to actually tap into means of getting access to finance healthcare in their facilities. When it was launched, we got an award, G20 award by President Obama, because it was an initiative which, from the Dutch perspective, Dutch government wanted to stimulate healthcare in Africa and so that healthcare systems will work. And then we also won the OPIC Award in 2014 as Innovative Financing. Who is Medical Credit Fund? Yeah, 2010, this is what we do. We affordable loans for private healthcare provider. The word affordable. I am of the opinion, I'm not of the school, that a lot of people think interest rates is the sole proponent to being able to pay loans. Thank you. Fine. So I'm of that school of thought that you first of all need to understand what you want to invest in, And when you understand what you want to invest in, it gives you the courage to know what kind of funding you are getting, how expensive it is, and do you want to make return on it. We cannot expect too much from the private providers in terms of financing, or what let me say the commercial banks. It is actually the cost of capital that they will be able to transform. So having this in context, the medical credit for serves as an opportunity to gain or tap into commercial banks to be able to have access to that financing that will enable us move forward. This is basically what constitutes us. We have a group of technical partners, people who train to understand the dynamics of training on business components. We have banking partners. In Nigeria, we work with two banks, FCMB and Diamond Bank, who have been very good partners in terms of creating that access to finance to work for private healthcare providers. Of course, we have various investors, and the reason why investors are very interested, they want to see healthcare in Africa work. They want to see that vicious circle turn into a virtual circle, and that is why we have this. What is the thinking behind it? The thinking behind it is simple. If you can convert your practice to become a business model, then you are able to take a loan and you are able to succeed. But if we stay in that silent of practice, it's very, very difficult to understand how you drive it into businesses and make it successful. Of course, our strategic partner. And we don't do this without quality. Because the bane of success for us is the level of quality you can attain. The more the quality components in your facility, the better the output, the better the result, and the more attractive it is. Not only for debt financing, but also for equity finance. A bit about the Nigerian healthcare market. Now, of course, we want 70 million people, and we all established that over 60% of healthcare is being offered or provided by private practitioners, which is why it's important that the government start looking to private practitioners. And not only, it's also important for us that private practitioners start strengthening their supply side so as to be what I call the first beneficiaries when things start working, like Olamide has put forward to us. Then of course the dynamics is changing. A lot of people are beginning to understand what healthcare means to them. So evidence-based medicine is beginning to come into play. And for that to happen, we need to step up our game. We need to understand how to incorporate and of course being able to provide evidence-based medicine. We understand that retained earnings are basically what private provide, but we can take a step outside of retained earnings and look at how loans can be very efficient to and be able to help us achieve what we want to do. Of course, that means we need money to do business. I'll spend a little time here. This is who really we are, and this is everything about the medical credit form. We stand as a bridge between healthcare practitioners and financial institutions, because the language from both ends we've realized do not sync. So we try to talk to both ends so that we can balance the equation. That bridge, very important. What do we do for financial institutions? One, we try to do some form of negotiation, back-end negotiations of different loan dynamics that will suffice to the industry. We try to develop business cases and scenarios for the bank so they can appreciate what the healthcare providers are, and they can appreciate the level of their business so as to be able to grant them those loans. Thirdly, we try to assess, we try to ensure that the healthcare facilities assess quality. That's we work with Safe Care. And if you approach us, definitely one of the main important things that you actually have Safe Care assessment done for you. That means we need to understand what are the quality deficiencies, how do we convert them to become more efficient, do you need some extra level of financing to make it happen? A leaking roof, I tell you, in an X-ray room can never bring the clients into it, and it's part of quality. So it's things like that we look at intricacies. The medical credit from the natural sense are very, very hands-on. So it's not like we give you rules or do's and don'ts, but we actually put our hands where our mouth is to tell you these are the areas you need to go. This is what makes you become much more profitable, and this is what the banks do. Do a lot of risk-sharing contracts as well with the bank. If depending on the level of the risk, we can work with the banks to share the risks and make it much more accessible for the healthcare providers or for the banks to take healthcare providers in, and a lot of monitoring. Now, on the other part, which is very, very important for the banks, it's something that we tell the banks we want to do and we do for healthcare providers. That's why some of the banks here today are really interested or want to see how to take the next step in building or advancing loans to healthcare providers. First of all, business advice, very important. Because a lot of people come, I think for the group practice question there, people come, make presentations, you have discussions with banks, and it ends up there. It's a very classical example of why the banks cannot finance healthcare, because they do not understand the language the healthcare provider is speaking. Neither does the healthcare provider understand the language the bank is speaking. So we sit at that bridge to try to make those communication, broker discussions, broker decisions, so that singular business can go through and become very, very efficient. So it's very important. So investment decisions that are taken, we'd like to be there to take those decisions together. Reason, we'll get to know later. Then second, we also support loan applications. So definitely when we take investment decisions, of course we put our hands there to support your loan application. So before it comes to the table of my group bankers, then business and quality training. It's very, very important. Somebody talked about how to get training out there. We do a lot of quality training in small silos, in small groups. We do a lot of business training because we need to educate business of healthcare owners to understand that healthcare business is not a practice. It is a practice, yes, in your terms, but it's actually a business. And anything that is a business should actually grow. So no matter the level of your business, you should have in the back of your mind that whatever I'm offering, I need to grow. And this is you can achieve from business training. One thing we also do a lot of equipment checks with our skills and dynamism we have or systems in place. We do a lot of equipment checks. A lot of times we see financed transactions, not from us, but people have bought equipment that have not worked, or people have bought equipment that were from wrong suppliers. Issues like that come up, and it also puts jeopardy to what you want to achieve. So what we try to do is do a lot of equipment checks, technical checks on the equipment, even before it gets to loan approval. We do quality assessment, like I mentioned earlier. The safe care is very, very important. So you need to, and funny enough, if you do this through medical credit fund, you get it next to nothing, because most of the safe care assessment is done. We do it on the behalf and not at any cost. So as people can understand that we are trying to change the dynamics, we are trying to change the healthcare space. It's not about leveraging on how much you want to grow, but it's about the quality that we want you to deliver. Because at the end of the day, after taking loans, treating people, it's the impact that matters. If the impact is not there, then we've not done anything. So quality embedded in what we want to do is very important to us. And finally, of course, we develop a quality improvement plan. The team ensures handhold and guides people into an improvement plan, how to move from one step to the other step, which is very important, which possibly you cannot get elsewhere, or you have to pay for to get it. And we do a lot of monitoring and improvement process. All these processes together is to make the healthcare providers bankable, to make the healthcare providers understand the business and the language of the bankers. So, in a nutshell, three things. We do provider support, we do bank support, and of course we do quality improvement. So a lot of hands-on technical activities are done when working with the medical credit fund in the bid of getting access to finance. A bit of history. I like putting this history for reasons, or performance for reasons. This is where we are across Africa. By the way, we are in 6 countries, 4 very operational ones. Now, across this country, we've done this lending, and this is about our repayment ratio. So you see, they're very important. That means healthcare providers are actually taking loans, doing investments, and making returns. So that means, in as much as we're talking about cost, there's some returns that has been going on there. That's why that efficiency. This is across Africa. Let me just bring it home. This is across Nigeria. So it's not like, what is it? And you can see that the amount of, by the way, this is in USD, the amount of loan that has been discussed. Very important, very interesting is the repayment rate. 99.9% efficient, which means that everybody that has worked with us, one way or the other, have found loans through the banks. They've done investment, and they've made returns, and they'll be able to pay their loan. So there's an opportunity for everybody, as long as you know the direction. The problem most times is that investment decision. When we get it wrong, we derail, and then we go back to the banks and say they're not friendly. But the banks are saying you've made the wrong decision. And in their own part, they don't know if that decision they're making is the right one. They're only interested in probably equipment, finance the equipment, you take the money, then you pay back. But what if you don't have the patient flow? What if you are not in the graphical areas for this kind of disease? What if there's a disease outbreak in that area? What are the risk criteria? I think in the morning we learned a lot about risk matrix. These are identifiers that we probably should have taken or seen from the beginning before we make investment decisions. So, and you can see, so there's a lot of loans that are being disbursed, and we see they are yet more. But this is more like a clarion call that if you've not had the opportunity to work with us, maybe there's time that we start working together and see where we take us to. Very simple, just for those for our benefit, for provider classification. This is to tell you that nobody is excluded. The lab, the hospital, clinics, pharmacy, maternity, conversant, these are all in our database. So nobody is excluded. It depends on what areas you want to play. It depends on the kind of level of clinic. It depends on the patient flow you have. And with all these indicators, we'll be able to do. See that there is a lot of medical equipment and access finance. We do renovation as well. We do medical stock. But the investment decision has to be right. these are our bank loan structures. I'm just displaying this, I don't know how clear it is. But the bottom line is that we try to, our loan spectrum is very broad. Prior to now, we used to do not more than 55 million, but as it is, we can do up to 2.5 million USD. That's about over 500 million naira worth of investment. And as low as 200,000 naira. So everybody is invited. Everybody has an opportunity to grow. You know, and you have also where areas you can cover. You can do areas of innovation, maybe it's IT purchase, or even if you're in the value chain, that's why we want to upscale and be able to go up to 500. So those that have medical supplies, distribution, and all that, we can actually finance them because right now they're in the value chain, and it's very important. And for the interest rate, because it's always particular. Interest rate is depending on what the economy is. But for the purpose of this, for the purpose of this presentation, that's why we have our bankers here. We can actually approach them, have a revenue discussion. What's easier to discuss because the bankers can actually give you leeway, and they're ready, I think, over there to take answers to anybody that really wants to key into this program. But one thing I keep saying is, it's not about interest rate, it's about returns. If your returns on investment is not there, you don't need to key in. So even if the interest rate you go today is 40% and you can make a return of 48%, then it's a good investment. Till we get there, till we get where to government investment in healthcare, then your interest rate will come down. But you cannot wait forever. There are people who are keying, there are people who are making returns. So if you think from the positive side, which means that how do I even make return? So when we keep on doing our innovation and you have a intervention fund coming in, then you realize that interest rate will become much more better. So it's not a fundamental about interest rate, but actually about how much returns you have and what kind of investment you want to do. So it's very simple. The healthcare industry in sub-Saharan Africa is very big. It's the next industry to oil, which probably is almost going. And of course, even in recession, it's always been said that healthcare will survive. And that's for sure. I think it's the second biggest industry in terms of recession that always survive. People will always want to take care of themselves and stay alive. So it's very possible to do that. But what we need to take from this is that for us medical credit funds, we are very strong in ensuring that we want financial indicators to be positive for healthcare providers. We want the quality to be top-notch, and of course we want to create social impact. So the time we right now to really key in, like my good friend Olamido says, it's not 2 years ago, it is now. You need to start keying for those that are not keying. Ask questions, let people review your bills, let people come and hold, train you, make sure that things are working well for you. I will not say that we have the wherewithal to do everything, but what is our part is that we will do everything to have the wherewithal. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Very few questions now. Okay, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zodima. Well, actually, since the banks don't seem to understand our services very well, I think we prefer, my name is Dr. Anthony Soro, PharmAccess. Since we could have preferred this where we have maybe a healthcare bank or hospital bank, a bank of agriculture, a mortgage bank, and all that. Bank of industry is for everybody. So I think a designated healthcare bank would solve a lot of the problems we're identifying. Having portfolio managers in various places, different understanding of medical services is not helping us. That's why we're having this, we're having this quagmire. So I think a healthcare bank would be better for that. And then the interest rate should be single digit. It goes a long way because without, it's unlikely. Honestly, that's the major reason, because banks, on the average, want to service their shareholders. They prefer paying for containers and offloading it and returning the money immediately, long term, including agriculture and all that have a long gestation period. So I think there's a way you can incentivize. I don't know how you do with banks. Banks will argue that, oh, they got the money at 30%, so they must give it at 32 or 36 or thereabout. However, they got it directly, even from CBN. The agricultural people do the same thing. They collect money, possibly at very low rate, and then give you and tell you stories. And the wrong guys get the money, usually, especially in agriculture that has been a gestation period. So I think how could we help us in such a way that, and if, you know, we could get it at a reasonably interest rate, and then a period of approval. We didn't hear, it takes almost a very long period to know that. Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me quickly take that, sir. Firstly, you're correct. It would be nice to have banks that are focused on health, but maybe when you look at cost benefit for the banks, it might not be feasible. But one thing I will tell you that the banks we have here have health desks. So that means not only looking, we cannot possibly grow as institutions, but they created health SMEs, health desks. And that's why they're working with us to understand what is needed to be able to lend to healthcare. Where do we need to adjust? What prices can we do in the face of reality? So these are health desks that have been created, and the banks are being compliant. It will be very nice to have single digits if we can get government work. I think the speaker before actually said something that probably possibly nobody really understood the magnitude. 220 billion for CBN SME therefore was allocated, but nothing was allocated for healthcare. That's the government that should be important for the people. So when a commercial bank goes out of its way, it needs to get money from somewhere and put it elsewhere. I can tell you categorically without hiding, the banks we work with have increased the interest rates for all other segments except healthcare. And they are doing it. So it's more like taking from robbing Peter to pay Paul. They are not making marginal returns from what they are doing. They are actually making returns from other industries that are functional. But in healthcare, they are trying to make it as low as possible. So it's not like they want to do all they don't want to do single digit. But that structure needs to be. For us, we keep on and we will keep on doing that, advocating and engaging the likes of the IFCs and all that to make sure that it works. But that's what I said. Once that works, of course, it's a ripple effect. Let me also let you know that if that works, the funding that will come from them cannot even go directly to healthcare providers without looking for a system to ensure that return of the fund comes back. And that return of that system only lies with the people working in this room right now, which is the team of the Medical Credit Fund. So definitely if that fund comes in, we will be sought out to tell us how do we best leverage on your competencies to make sure that these healthcare providers get this fund at this rate and return the fund, because for them, return of the fund, making returns of the fund is very, very important. So we are keeping our eyes on the board for that. But for now, all the opportunities we have, we should not let them pass by because of interest rates.
Good afternoon. My name is David. I just want to ask a very simple question. And we've had the presentations and we enjoyed them. I want to ask, what is the next step to be taken after all this presentation? Where do we go to? What do we do next? How do we access you? Thank you.
Okay.
It's in line with the question.
Okay, very good. Where do you go to?
Let me just ask so I can answer it together. My question is, PharmAccess can help us the healthcare providers access to, alright? At what cost is that to us? Is it free? I mean, your helping us access to, is it free?
Okay, firstly, how do you access get to us, you can always contact us. Maybe through our website, get our information. But very easily, if you walk to any of FCMB or Diamond Bank, they can always reach out to us. Tell them you want to, you want to, any of your branches, you want to take up the loan, your healthcare provider, they'll sit down dialogue with you. The first contact, once they make it, they always come to us because we need to sit down, look at your practice, take decisions with you, even discard the investment you probably want to make. It probably is not the right one to make. And also show you what you need to upgrade. So definitely once you make contact with them, the first port of call is to come to us. Then we'll come to your facility, do what we need to do, go back to them, and of course that becomes them. And at what cost to us, I just told you, we have investors and donors, and their sole aim for having us around is to make health systems work. So the cost is actually borne by donors and investors to pay for the technical assistance that we offer to the banks to make these healthcare loans available to you at the best possible affordable cost. Thank you.
Okay, I guess there's one more question.
Good everybody, my name is Patrick Obina. I want to ask this question. If the loan is being given to a health facility, will there be any collateral from the bank?
Depending on loan classification. Depending on loan classification, there might be need for collateral, and there might be need for maybe some loan classification will not require collateral. If you're of course trying to take 200 million, of course for you to be coming close to that amount, you're not a new player in the industry, so you will have some form of skin in the game. But if you're a very small facility coming up, we need to handhold you to make it to become bigger. So yes, there will be collateral for some kind of lending. It depends on some kind of collateral. It could be assets, where it could be legal mortgage, depending on what you're buying, or it could just be dependent on the cash flows that you have. So it's very important to have cash flows, very solid cash flows, because sometimes it can help alleviate the need of certain types of collateral. So your level of borrowing determines the level of collateral that you ask, but it's always flexible. That's the bottom.
I'm aware that the CBN loan that is being given for health industry, there is a special percentage that is earmarked for women in healthcare. Is PharmAccess aware of this? And how can you assist women in healthcare to access this special percentage that is set aside for women? I remember Access Bank was trying to do something. FCMB was also trying to do something, but nothing came through. Can PharmAccess assist? Thank you.
What about men in healthcare? Okay, yeah. I don't think there's any funding yet for CBN and marked for healthcare. But what I do think, and what I do know, is that most banks and mark that the funding you have right now, a lot of people are accessing from healthcare under the group service. I think that's where a lot of people that have got it. There's no one marked for healthcare providers. So some banks have been very innovative to say you're offering the service and you get loan. However, reality is that I don't think we will have up to 1% of healthcare providers that has accessed that loan. So it's there, but it's not coming. I think it was first time movers that had it. However, if you access the loan, I think it's earmarked at 60% of such loan should go to women. And so the banks that have access to this have already laid that principle and rules and guidelines they are following with it. But the truth is the monies are not coming out from CBN. You can only access it when you go under the column service, and it's no more. So what will the banks do? That's why they need to really rely on their fund. But we keep on engaging with government. We keep on engaging with technical partners to be able to have this ready to come to place. But what you have right now, there's no pre-existent of 9% coming to healthcare facilities or dedicated. But I know there's been a lot of advocacy, there's been a lot of government engagement to make it happen. I don't know when that will happen, but I know that as soon as that happens, we will also be engaging and being able to relate it to healthcare providers and to women in need. But for now, we are trying to work with what we can lay hold our hands on.
Please, let us put our hands together for Mr. Uzodima Osiogo, Program Director, MCF Nigeria, PharmAccess Foundation. All right, before we go over to the next session, I would like us to, if you want, Dr. Olamide Okulaja has given us his telephone number and email address. So if you want to put down his telephone number and his email address, please, let's do that. His telephone number is 081. Please don't call him at night. Just send text messages, just in case he doesn't pick your calls. 081 88 166 701. I repeat that. 081 88 166 701. His email, let's put down his email, is Okulaja, that's Okulaja, that's OOKULAJA at worldbank.com. Okulaja at worldbank.com. If you have questions, comments, whatever, just send him an email or give him a call or send a text message. Sorry. Okulaja. Sorry? I don't know if he's on WhatsApp. You can text him and find out. Alright. So we'll move on to the next session.
Just briefly run through a documentary showcasing our work. We've done a lot of work in Africa, Kenya, Ghana, but I think this is just what we did in Nigeria. So let me just take your 10 minutes and we will break for lunch, please.
I went to visit a friend of mine on admission in a book. And when I got there, he needed to do an x-ray. We had to carry him outside to go and have an x-ray done. I went there in the evening to visit him. And I looked at those images. And I said to my heart that these are poor images. While we were looking around that, the management of the hospital too thought they needed to move to acquire other things, like an MRI and a CT scan. We met with the board, we submitted our proposal, we won the bid to put a CT and MRI within the facility. At the time that we won the bid, we did not have the resources. We went around so many banks with our proposal, but we knew clearly that going through the bank may not be the best option. So we started approaching other financial institutions. That's how we came across MCA.
Our first encounter with Chris, we came from our banking partners. And there was very engaged because I could see a provider who had a vision. Prior to that, we had never done something like that, where a private healthcare provider have a partnership with a government entity and seek finance and be able to get that. So it was really an interesting opportunity to explore. And that meeting showcased that there are people out there who also have like minds in terms of what we want to achieve as an organization.
Through our experience and our work in Nigeria and in other countries, by the way, we recognize the fact that yes, we want to stimulate demand, yes, we want the clinics to deliver quality care, but in order for them to do that, they actually need access to funds to improve the quality, to expand their facility and provide better care. So the thought of MCF was born. It was started in 2009 by PharmAccess Group. Because we're not a financial institution, we have to partner with local banks. It's very well known that the banks don't understand what the healthcare sector does. They don't understand how they operate. So MCF is there as a bridge between the healthcare institution and the banks to make them understand each other, to facilitate the requirements needed by the banks for them to be able to access the loans. And these SMEs predominantly are the ones that are focused on delivering care to the lower income communities.
For us, the health segment is a very important part of the economy. So that's why we're involved with Medical Credit Fund. For them to do the initial, should I call it, diagnostics of the business, and then get back to us while we take care of the funding.
So MCF was able to provide us with the funding to build that center. And now MCF has come up again to be able to provide it.
Sorry, we have to do this. Please, those at the back, please come sit. You will get your certificates.
And the banks to make them understand each other, to facilitate the requirements needed by the banks for them to be able to access the loans. And these SMEs predominantly are the ones that are focused on delivering care to the lower income communities.
For us, the health segment is a very important part of the economy. So that's why we're involved with Medical Credit Fund. For them to do the initial, should I call it, diagnostics of the business, and then get back to us while we take care of the funding.
So MCF was able to provide us with the funding to build that center. And now MCF has come up again to be able to provide the funding for the equipment for that center, which is brilliant.
MCF creates impact. Basically, you want the poor man who is in need of health to be able to have quality health. We've had different levels of providers who have come at their various categories to ask for have access to finance, and they've had low. A case in point will be one of our hospitals, in a really very small hospital, you say. Now they serve, if you know the rural community very well, you will see a lot of poor or poor indigents that live there. But these people also have need for quality health care. And that hospital is Glory Hospital, resides in their midst. Now, when we financed him and he was able to improve on his quality, people, first of all, the initial shock was the fact that people thought that it was no more hospital for them because they were poor for the rich. But he kept on maintaining standard, he kept on maintaining pricing. And then the community started going there. So you see, that's the kind of things we want to do. There's been a lot of people that are going there to have quality health care.
Through the support of MCF, at least we able to at least acquire some facilities, which has helped to improve our services in this place. My personal satisfaction comes from the fact that at least you see people in danger and they recover. Take for example, the child you saw there, the neonatal unit, came in here from another hospital, having been rejected in different places. 850 grams, not up to 1 kg. But the child today is 1.5 kg. And you feel happy at the life that would have been lost. It's alive.
I think the most part you need to understand here is that for MCF, it's not about the loans alone. It is about the hospital improving from where they are to where they need to be. So the loan is always tied to a process of quality upgrade. So for the hospital, you get more than just funding.
So really, it is a very innovative fund. It provides loan as well as technical assistance to these facilities in terms of business planning, in terms of how they structure their operations, so that they're able to be more productive and utilize the funds as best as they can to ensure that they repay the loan. And we do this using a quality improvement tool called Safe Care methodology. We are at the point where we are having sessions with medical associations, encouraging them to take loans, encouraging them that it's better to take a loan, expand your facility, improve your services, have more business, and generate enough funds, not only to repay the loan, but still to have enough to continue to provide the services that you provide. It can only be good for Nigeria in the sense that there are more facilities that provide quality care. A lot more people can access care. And a healthier population is a more productive population. So we're hoping that that ripple effect of stimulating this sector would end up in more hospitals, better quality care, and healthier population.
Thank you very much for...
It's lunch time. So we're going to move from the table there, row by row. I believe we have different options. For those that want to swallow, we have that. For those that want to eat other things, we have.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege for me to be making this closing remark. On behalf of the management of PharmAccess Foundation, I'd like to say a big thank you for you all for attending and participating in this workshop. Many thanks to the three guest speakers, Dr. Mrs. Nike Adewako. She's traveled all the way from Benin to make this appointment. And I'm thanking her that despite what happened, the incident of yesterday, she was able to come and she made a very good presentation. Also, thank you to Dr. Olamide Okulaja. Thank you to Mr. Adiola Badmos. And thank you to my colleagues, Dr. Mrs. Ibironke Dada and Uzo Osisioku. You've all made a lot, all of us here, we are all better informed than where we came here. And an event like this would never have happened without the passionate contribution of the PharmAccess Foundation team. Thank you very, very much. And a special thanks to my country director. She's been of great support to the event being a success. Once again, thank you all for being here. It's been a great pleasure. Safe journey back to your various destination. Thank you.
We have come to the end